Another one for Tommy boy. Another one for the world. Another one for the listeners.
Episode number 20 of the Third Leg Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Riley Warren, and along with me is my co-host, Dr. Dunny. How you doing? How you been, buddy?
Pretty good, buddy. Just ready to get started with some sports talk. We're talking more NFL, more college football. I cannot wait.
Absolutely. We're starting today with the NFC East breakdown.
This is something that's like, okay, if you look at this division and you compare it to every other division, last year, this was the best division in football. Every team was 500 or above, and that's the only division you can say that for in the NFL.
Yeah, it's impressive. They just beat the shit out of each other, and they make it tough for each other to stay healthy and get far into the playoffs. It's crazy that this is like the toughest division, but nobody out of this division won the chip.
Right. I mean, it's tough right now with Kansas City and Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid. Like, that's going to be a dynasty Belichick Brady,
Oh, absolutely. If you don't already consider it that, I think in the next, 2-3 years they get another one. I mean, they're going to be this generation's Patriots, the Kansas City Chiefs.
Wholeheartedly agree. They build well, they keep people well, and then they draft well. So, you cannot downplay it, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there any teams from last year going into this year that you think are going to exceed expectations?
From the NFC East in particular, you're talking about?
Yes.
Exceed expectations? Yes and no. I do. So everyone is high on the Eagles, and personally, I don't pick them to win the NFC East this year. So, spoiler alert for anyone who's watching the episode: the Eagles will not be the team that I pick. But I think that there's going to be two teams that are below 500 and two teams above 500. I don't think any one team stands out, but we'll talk about that here in a second.
Yeah, for sure. I'm kind of with you. I don't actually think the division's going to replicate what they did last year. And I think it's going to be a lot tougher on the division for sure. So let's get it started. Let's start off with the reigning divisional champions, the Philadelphia Eagles.
So the Philadelphia Eagles, if you are a huge Eagles fan or you believer at least, minus 135 to win the division this year. So you're going to pay some juice for them. But hey, they did it. Who knows? They could do it again. Their over-under for wins right now on DraftKings is set at 11.5 at minus 105. So you're getting about even money, but they have to win 12 games.
That's fucking wild. Let me just get that out there first and foremost. I know they just went to the chip. People don't think they're going to have, the hangover that teams usually have, but 11.5 for minus is absolutely criminal.
I wholeheartedly agree with you. DraftKings is definitely trying to steal some money there. I personally have them going 11-6. I have them starting 5-0. And then they play the Jets at the Jets in week 6. And Aaron Rodgers should be full in his system, ready to go at that point. The Jets defense is tough. They're playing in New York, so I think anything can happen, which is why I kind of give them the L in that game. Then they get to play the very next week in Miami, and if everyone's healthy for Miami, if Tua doesn't fall on his head anymore, that team should be really good. Jalen Ramsey, Xavier Howard on defense, locking down your number 1 and number 2. Then you've got the two-headed speed demons of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and that's just absurd, absolutely absurd.
Yeah, Miami has an exciting team on both sides of the ball. They're going to be fun to watch, whether you're a fan of them or you hate them. I think people are going to be watching them this year.
And I wouldn't be mad, or I guess I wouldn't be surprised if they make the trade for Dalvin Cook. So just be ready for that if that comes too. Like, good God.
If they make that trade, that's them signaling we're going for it.
Right. And at this point, you kind of have to, right? If you're not trading Tua or not looking to bring in someone who's a highly touted backup, you're kind of all in right now. But But back to the Eagles. Tough 4-game stretch right in like the middle, kind of getting into the second half of their season. At the Chiefs, home against the Bills, home against the Niners, at the Cowboys.
That's got to be one of the toughest stretch in all of football.
If not, if it's not one of, it's definitely, in my eyes, the toughest because you're playing the Super Bowl winner that you played last year in Arrowhead, which is a tough stadium. You're playing the Buffalo Bills. Obviously, it's at home, but they're a good team. You're playing the 49ers, who you played in the NFC Championship. And then you're playing at your biggest rival, which typically, if you look at it, you kind of split with them pretty much every year. So I have them going 0-4 in those games, which it wouldn't surprise me if they, go 2-2, but 0-4 right now, 11-6 for the year. One quick stat I wanted to throw out for those Eagles lovers. There has not been a repeat NFC East champion winner since the 2004 Philadelphia Eagles. So before you go throwing money at Philadelphia, you might want to think about some history.
I don't care. Give me the Eagles. I don't think they're going to win 12 games. I think they're around 11 games. But I also don't think the Cowboys are going to win more than 11 games. So I like the Eagles. They still have one of the most loaded rosters in all of football, coming off a Super Bowl loss, extremely hungry. I think they're one of their little downfalls maybe is losing both of their coordinators last year, or less.
Right.
Yeah, coming into this year, could cause some hiccups, but I think the talent alone will prevail. And this is a team that I feel like could just march to the NFC Championship game and nobody would bat an eye. It could,
I certainly wouldn't be surprised if they did that.
Exactly. I mean, obviously they're the favorites, but a lot of people think, after a Super Bowl loss, there's a hangover, yada, yada, yada. I have them coming out strong. I got them at 11 wins next year. I don't like the minus 105 for 11.5. I already talked about it. That's just criminal. There's plus money on the other side of that, so I think there's a little more value in that. So 11 and under still can win the division and propel them to the NFC Championship without winning 12 fucking games. So I'm still high in the Eagles this year. I think they got one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Great offensive line, and like I said, they're extremely hungry. So I got them at 11 wins, and they're gonna sweep. They're gonna sweep Dallas this year.
Oh, I like it.
They're gonna sweep Dallas this year, and that's not because I don't like the Cowgirls, but maybe it is.
Okay. All right. Good for you. Good for you. I like that. I like that. Next we have the Cowboys, the Cowgirls, or if as some would say, right? Over under for them 9.5 games on DraftKings right now, minus 165. So if you're gonna take the over, you're gonna pay some juice. Personally, I would just move it to 10.5 if you can do that and take the over because I think they're going over. I think they're winning 12 games this year. 12-5.
God Almighty.
Spoiler alert, I have them winning the division, plus 190. This team is loaded just like the Eagles that you were just talking about. They just signed Stephon Gilmore, 4 years ago or so? He won the Defensive Player of the Year award. So, you're throwing him on that team that already had a good-ass defense. They're just going to get better. And then on offense, if you can just keep running the ball like you have been, obviously they don't really have a running back right now, but Zeke's still out there. He hasn't signed with anyone. By the start of the season, I think he does come back to Dallas. Jerry said he would take him. You keep throwing it to the tight ends. You get Dak on the rollouts. You hit CD Lamb in the open field. Let him run. I think it can happen. 12 wins is not out of the question. They do have a hot start. They start 3-0 or 4-0 in my opinion. Week 1 at the Giants, they beat them. Week 2, home against the Jets. So at home and before Aaron Rodgers really gets comfortable, in my opinion. Then you got the Cardinals and the Patriots, which I think are 2 easy dubs for them this year. But then you play 2 back-to-back primetime matchups on the road in San Fran and at the Chargers. So I think they drop those 2 games. After that, they start ripping off a bunch of wins. They split with Philly. They go 12-5.
Okay. I think the Cowboys, in my eyes, are just complete joke artists, and they have been my entire life. So it's extremely hard for me to get behind over 10 wins, let alone 11. I do agree with you, though. They do have one of the scariest defenses, led by Micah. And
Man's
we'll
an
need
animal.
it. Yeah. He and that defense, like last year, will have to be the backbone of the entire team. I am curious about how the offense looks with the new offensive coordinator and Kellen Moore out, because he is one of the most talented young offensive coordinators in the league. And I'm just curious on the scheme of the offense and how it will work with maybe an unmotivated running back and then Tony Pollard. And let's not forget, Dak has to stay healthy through 17 games.
You're not wrong.
So there's always that. I believe that they're going to be 10-5, 9-7, or no?
Okay.
Yeah. Or wait, no. 10-7.
10-7.
10-7 is where I
9-8.
got them. Yeah, 10-7, 9-8. I got, like I said, Philly winning both games. So that's two of their losses right there alone. And we know Dallas doesn't play close well. So I, just going into it, don't have a bunch of faith in Dallas's offense, but their defense, if they're the Chicago Bear-esque defense that they hope to be with Micah and Gilmore, then they could obviously do it and win the division like you're talking about. It's not super far-fetched by any means, especially with the Commanders and the Giants in the situation they are. I think it'll be a two-headed monster in the NFC. NFC East with the Eagles and Cowboys. So I think they're going to be better than usual. If Dak stays healthy, they have a really good chance. And like I said, I'm just curious on how their offense is going to play out.
For sure. They do have a tough 4-game stretch at the end of the season too. Home against Philly, at Buffalo, at Miami, home against Detroit.
Ooh.
So, it's crazy saying Detroit's one of the tough opponents, right? But, it should be a good game. Again,
hopefully they're wore out by the time they get to us.
Right. Or maybe they've dropped a few games and they're not in the hunt for the division, or they've already clinched the division, that kind of stuff. Because I would love to see. That's actually going to be a Saturday night game on ESPN for us this year. So, nice little prime time. We'll definitely have to get something going with Corey, for sure.
Absolutely, bro.
The one thing they do need to take care of is Zach Martin, their offensive guard, arguably the best guard in the league. Right now he's talking about holding out. So, got to get that situated. Then they have Tyrone Smith at left tackle still. The man wears knee braces for elbow braces because his arms are so big.
That guy is a monster.
And then they have the kid that filled in for him last year because he was hurt. So their offensive line should be a strong point, which you expect from the Dallas Cowboys. I just hope that, they can get going, at least for the sake of my over-under argument and the division crown argument.
For sure. I think Dallas is one of those teams that has to start hot and get momentum going into the year because their fan base and everyone around Dallas, they got so much pressure on them, and the fact that they're expected to win 10 games this year, and Dak, 2 days ago said he's not throwing more than 10 interceptions.
Well, no, he said he's not throwing 10 interceptions.
So he's throwing 9.
He might throw 11.
He's throwing 13. Yeah, exactly.
But he said
I'm
he's not throwing 10.
He was very specific. He didn't say he wasn't throwing more than 10. He just said 10. Oh, that's funny.
It is funny. I could see it happening too. Throw your 11th just so you were wrong or you were right. Golly gee. When is the last time the Lions even beat the Cowboys? I can't even remember in my lifetime.
I don't know. The only Cowboys-Lions game I remember is that bullshit PI call.
That's true, in the playoffs.
That's all I remember from Dallas and Detroit.
Des Bryant out on the field arguing with his helmet off, not getting a penalty called on him. Yeah, that was fun.
Good times.
Abandoned Pettigrew. God.
I can picture it. The
now you got
still
me
shot
going.
in my head with him going like this. Yeah, that was some bullshit. Either way, move on from the Cowboys. Let's go to the Commanders.
All right, the Washington Commanders, who are thinking about redoing their football name again, so they might go back to the football team. Everyone, stay tuned.
What are they right now?
The Commanders.
Oh yeah, the Commanders.
So obviously can't be the Redskins anymore, but they are talking about potentially changing it again. So stay tuned, everyone. Over under at 6.5, plus 100 if you take the over. I personally have them on the underside of things. I have them going 6-11. They beat the Cardinals at home. They beat the Bears at home, the Falcons, at the Patriots, at the Rams, and then they split with the Giants. So, and after that, they have a tough schedule. Sorry, but it doesn't look pretty for them.
Hey, I'm right there with you. I mean, you doubled up on how many wins, or almost doubled up on how many wins they got compared to me. I have them winning 4 games this year.
Damn.
4 games. They booted their owner. You know, they got all the problems going on with the ownership. Their head coach is on the hot seat right now, and then they're bringing in a fresh QB. It is a literal recipe for disaster. If this was your team, I don't think you would expect them to win more than 6 games.
That's true. The only good thing I guess I could say is their offense should be better this year because Eric Bieniemy is going to be their offensive coordinator coming over from Kansas City. So the man is supposed to be the genius. Is it just Andy Reid? I guess we'll find out this year with the Washington Commanders. But I mean, if you look at their schedule, it's brutal, dude. It's brutal.
Absolutely brutal. And their defense is going to have to be scoring touchdowns. I think their defense is obviously their strong suit of this team. And I already said they're coming in with a fresh quarterback, a very young quarterback. It doesn't matter what offensive coordinator you have if the guy with the ball in his hands 90% of the game is super green. It's hard. It's very hard to win 6 games in the NFL, especially as first year, second year quarterback.
Right. Some opponents that they have to play at Denver, that's a tough place to go play, especially for a rookie quarterback.
Absolutely.
Home against Buffalo week 3, so
blown out.
Right. At Philly week 4.
I would have their over under at 4.5.
Okay.
That's where I'm at with them. Like I would definitely bang under 6.5 for them. I don't think they get 7 wins by any facet. There's no shot.
Right. I mean, okay, if they do play as bad as what you're hoping, I hope Chase Young starts to chirp and gets his way out of Washington and finds himself in the Honolulu Blue.
Come on down, buddy.
Start drinking the Kool-Aid, Chase. Let's go.
Yes, sir. Fake that little ankle roll.
Right.
You guys are 0-5 to start, 1-6. Just tweak that ankle for the rest of the year. Get you a new contract.
That D line that they have is just absolutely ridiculous.
It's going to be wasted, but it's absolutely ridiculous. They're going to be on the field so fucking much.
Right.
It's going to be insane. If you like them, hey, watch their games. You're going to see their defense a lot.
It's true. That is true. Yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, I think they are going to be the bottom feeders of this division for probably the next 3-4 years.
I see it. I mean, they drew the unlucky stick of having to go to Seattle, having to go to the Jets. Good Lord. Yeah, their schedule is brutal for sure.
Yeah, their schedule is tough. I think this is going to be the rebuild year. Fresh offense coordinator, fresh quarterback. Hopefully be able to rebuild some skilled players around the ball, help out their, quarterback more. But I definitely think this will be a rebuild year, and they're going to tank for some higher picks for sure.
Right. Brian Robinson should be starting at running back for him. So I don't know if you saw his intro video last year after getting shot.
Man.
Yes.
Dude, he's a stud.
That was perfect song for him to come out to. I got shivers just watching it when he did that.
He's a stud. He's going to be fun to watch. He's always fun to watch. Him and Scary Terry on the offense is cool. I just don't think they have the AJ Brown-esque receiver you need to complement the Terry wide receiver.
If you're going to have a young quarterback and you're not going to be able to keep him on the field to get experience, something's not going to look too good for you, that's for sure.
For sure. And like I said, having that quarterback and a good running game is just going to stack the box.
Right.
At the end of the day, they're going to stack the box, try to keep the ball out or get the ball out of his hand as quick as possible or make him hold it and make bad decisions. I think defensive coordinators are going to have a heyday with this offense, and especially the Eagles and Cowboys. I think their defense is going to
Eat alive.
have their way with the Commanders. So, yeah, we'll see. And with like their name changing, they just got to figure it out and stick with it. I'm tired of it. There's more news about their name and their ownership than their players and the games.
That's what's sad is their owner is just such a sick like story that it's
Yeah.
the
It's
worst
hard
franchise to work for.
Yeah, it's hard to overlook when you're even talking about the organization as a whole.
Right.
All right, let's move on from the scumbags. What do you got for the Giants?
Last but not least, the New York Football Giants. Over under set at 7.5 plus 100 if you take the over. I have them right at 7 and 10. So pretty much for everyone in this division, I told you to take the under, except for the Cowboys. I guess I'm drinking the Cowboy Kool-Aid.
That's
too.
wild.
Which I never thought I would say. But Giants 7 and 10. They have some really winnable games, splitting with the Commanders, beating the Cardinals, beat the Raiders, beat the Pats, beat the Packers, beat the Saints, and beat the Rams. So, like some teams that I'm pretty down on this year, they got the luck of playing. And then you never know. If they play Dallas and Philly hard on the road, maybe they pull out the home game. I just don't see it happening, especially if they don't have Saquon. Danny Dimes, you can believe in him all you want, but if his running game's not there, he's going to have to be the running game, and then that's when you look at injuries happening. They did bring in a couple, targets for him, Darren Waller being the main one right now that I can think of. He's going to command a lot of attention, but I don't know. If you don't bring Saquon back, if you can't get Saquon to come play for you, things don't look good.
Yeah, I heard with Saquon, they were like $1 million off. They were like $1 million off and they wouldn't give it to him. They were like 13 a year for 3 years at like 39-ish mil for 3 years. And they were like $1 mil per year off, and they haven't came to an agreement yet. If they don't have Saquon or a happy Saquon, I don't like this team at all. Although I really do like the addition of Darren Waller. I think he's an absolute stud. He didn't work well in at the Raiders.
Yep.
Yeah, at the Raiders. I don't know. I don't think that offense in general with the Raiders was great. So I think he was in a bad position. I think he'll have opportunity to thrive in New York. Danny Dimes, any quarterback not great in the pass game, having an exceptional talent at tight end is always the recipe for greatness. You have to have a good tight end. If you have a quarterback that, isn't the best passer or not solidified as being a great passer. I think Coach Dable unlocked Danny Dimes last year a little bit, helped them resurge into the playoffs, and their season will basically hinge on Danny Dimes taking the next leap. And that offense, other than the running game, taking the next leap. I have them finishing 8 and 9, so right around there. I wouldn't put a single unit on over 7.5. I don't actually trust it, but going down the schedule, I think they go 8 and 9, 7 and 10-ish. I'm pretty much on par with you on who they beat, and just like the rest of the division, they have a tough schedule on the road. So I'm not too fond on the Giants. Like I said, I think the Commanders and the Giants are going to be the bottom feeders this year, but I think the Giants have more opportunity to split with the Eagles or the Cowboys, dependent on Saquon and the mental of that team going in. And like the Cowboys, I feel like they're a team that kind of has to start a little hot.
Oh, I wholeheartedly agree.
They can't lose the first 2 games, or they can't go on a 3-4 game losing streak and hope to turn it around. So yeah.
Just talking about the hot streak that they have to start on, they have one of the more grueling starts to their season too, which is just like, if you can come out of week 6 at 500, I think you got to be ecstatic as a Giants fan with Cowboys, Niners, Seahawks, Dolphins, Bills. All you have to play those teams in the first 6 weeks. Like that's a tough schedule. So
That,
they are the team. If you're going to pick either them or Washington to compete with Philly and Dallas, they're the team that I also feel most confident in. I don't see it happening. People are putting a lot of stock into the Hyatt kid that they picked from Tennessee at receiver, and then they brought in from Indianapolis Paris Campbell and Darren Waller. Obviously, some new tools, but they brought in Kenny Golladay from Detroit, and he didn't do anything for him. So like Kenny Golladay was a stud when he played for the Lions, but he didn't do anything in New York. So it all depends on who's getting the ball, who's getting open, that kind of stuff. Coach Dayball appears to be the real deal. Hopefully he continues to show that for the Giants fans. But I'm not holding my breath. I do think they take third in the division this year.
For sure. I think Dayball, other than Saquon, everyone else is on board.
Yeah.
From the players and people that are fans of the Giants, I think they really like this guy. And he doesn't have like the same intensity as like Dan Campbell, but it's kind of like the same motto. He's like a players guy. He's there for the players, sticks up for them. And he's not like in the media talking shit or, talking a lot of fugazi stuff. So I think if they handle the Saquon situation good, I think they'll have more higher expectations. And I think they're going to be a team to compete if they get out of that first 6 weeks. Even if they start 2-4, I think that's a good enough start. If those 2 wins are going to be versus high caliber teams, so they know they can play. They got to keep it close, can't get blown out. But at the end of the day, I think the line that Vegas set for them at 7.5 is more on point than some of the other teams in the division.
Pretty sharp from Vegas.
Yeah, pretty sharp.
Shocker, right?
Yeah.
Seems to be all they do.
Yeah, I don't know how they do it, but they do it. So if you're smoking crack, the Commanders are plus 1,600 to win the East, and the Giants are plus 850. So that is a big sway.
Yeah.
From those 2 teams,
I don't see it. It has, in my eyes, it has to be Eagles Cowboys. You would think it comes down to their matchups on if one team can sweep the other. That's who's probably going to win the division. But I don't know. We'll see. I guess time will tell, right?
Yeah, for sure. So you got the Cowboys at plus 190?
I will take the Cowboys at plus 190.
All right. I got the Eagles minus 135. I think they go back-to-back for the first time since 2004. The Eagles did it. I think they're going to be the next team to do it again.
Okay. All right. I like it. If Jalen Hurts keeps improving the way he did last year, I could see it.
You just got to stay healthy. We need a healthy Hurts. We've seen what he did in the Super Bowl. Even though they lost, he was a stud.
For sure. I don't know. It's gonna be nice. That's for sure.
If you're right and Dallas wins, I'm gonna be pissed. Just so you know.
Well, I also won't be very happy, but a couple of our friends will be. But
I'll delete all of our videos, all of the clips. You will not see. There will be no proof of you picking Dallas to win this division.
Well, we've gone through 2 divisions so far, and I think I'm going 2-0. So.
Oh my God! Here we go. He really is drinking the Kool-Aid.
You have to. But no, the other NFL news that we even have to talk about right now would be DeAndre Hopkins did sign with a team over this past week. It wasn't in the NFC East, but we'll probably talk about it again here soon. He signed with the Tennessee Titans. What do you think about that?
I mean, I know the initial thoughts were like any player later in their career that goes to Tennessee, retires in Tennessee, and they do shit. They go to die in Tennessee, wide receivers.
Yep.
And that's just kind of the thing. Randy Moss, Julio Jones, there's just
Andre
Johnson. There's a bunch of players that went to Tennessee and sucked. But at the end of the day, if you're a Tennessee fan, like, this is fucking awesome.
Right.
D-Hop is a stud. I don't think he's going to have the same downward trajectory that the other players did when they got here. I think they have a great running game. They got a different coach. I think Vrabel's that guy. I think he needed this piece. He was missing that A.J. Brown last year. So now they got D-Hop to kind of get in there and get the offense more fluent because their run game is fine. The run game has been fine. Derrick Henry always has the most yards after contact. He's pretty much falling forward for 3 every time. So if they get that, if D-Hop does what he does, Tennessee's going to be fucking dangerous.
I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, I think when Randy, Andre, and Julio went to Tennessee, they were like past their prime, whereas D-Hop might be in the latter half of his prime rather than past his prime. Is he the number 1 receiver in the NFL right now? No, probably not. But I still think he can. The man doesn't drop passes, and last year he was catching screens and going for 6. So like he could still do it.
What do you think about? Because originally when he said he wanted to get traded, he said he wanted, a great defense, a very good quarterback, competent quarterback, and a team that has a chance to win the championship. Do you think he did that, or was this more on the side of the money grab?
I think it was money grab. I don't think he followed what he said at all.
I am right there with you. I see a lot of people saying the same thing. It's just kind of weird.
And he talked about
would even state it. Why did you even have to say through the media and press what you wanted if you weren't even going to back that?
Right. And I think one of them was even like a sound or a solid GM or management, I guess. And they just changed management this past offseason. So like it's a brand new GM coming in. I just don't get it. But I guess
whoever that GM is that went and talked to him, he's a fucking closer.
Right.
He's a closer. Whatever he said, he knows what he's doing. There might be a future in Tennessee with his GM. If you can get D-Hop after he already said he didn't want to come to a team like your team, that's impressive.
That's true. And I think probably it has to go with like, okay, Vrabel's there. And Vrabel has something to say with what happens with personnel and
Absolutely.
how things are going to get used. So I think that probably played bigger factor in than the new regime coming in for the GM position. But I don't know.
For sure.
Personally, I'll be avoiding DeAndre Hopkins in fantasy football drafts this year. But
that's because Tannehill's throwing him the ball.
Is it Tannehill or is it the other 2 young studs that they drafted? Young studs should be in quotes there.
Who else? Who's the third one other than Malik?
Well, the kid from Kentucky they just drafted.
Oh, Will Levis?
Yeah.
Oh my God, dude, that'll be crazy. I think Tannehill is going to get the nod this year just because they have the most talent. If you're going to throw a rookie quarterback in the prime of D-Hop and Derrick Henry, then
what are you doing?
Crazy.
Right.
You're kind of crazy. So I think they take their shot this year, and then the Will Levis thing was kind of like the next decade.
For sure.
Did you see there was a clip, they were all golfing for that like Pro-Am tournament or whatever, and Vrabel was there?
No.
Reporter asked him, "Hey, did you see D-Hop just signed? Did you know?" He's like, "I knew last fucking week, buddy. What do you mean? I'm the head coach." He said, "I'm the head coach. What are you asking if I know that D-Hop came to my team?"
Right.
It was just a funny clip. Dumb reporter. Funny clip, though. It's like, do you know one of the best receivers? The biggest free agent just signed to your team. Did you know? No way. He picked us. He just threw all the teams into the hat and picked one.
I'll have to pick up and call him.
Yeah. Fuck out of here. Alrighty. Short, quick, sweet episode. NFC East. Go Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly.
Star for Cowboys. Let's go, baby.
Oh, my God. The fact that you just said that is disgusting.
I know, but I don't care when I'm 2-0.
All right. I'm clipping it. Everybody, have a good day. Episode 20 of the Third Leg Podcast. We will see you guys next time.
Peace.
Another one for Tommy boy. Another one for the world. Another one for the listeners.